History does not end empires when they are weak. It ends them when they are afraid. The most dangerous moment in a superpower's life is not during its rise, and not even during its collapse. It is the moment in between, when power still exists, but confidence is fading. This is the moment when empires become unpredictable. This is the moment when they act aggressively, intervene recklessly, and make decisions that accelerate their own decline. History has seen this moment many times. Rome experienced it before its borders collapsed. The British Empire experienced it before decolonization shattered its control. Every superpower that has ever ruled the world has passed through this phase, and none escaped it. This documentary explores that moment, not through headlines, not through opinions, but through patterns that repeat with terrifying consistency. A superpower is not just a strong country, it is a system. It controls trade routes, it influences global politics, it sets rules others must follow, it shapes culture, currency, and security beyond its borders. But superpowers carry a hidden weakness. The larger the system becomes, the more fragile it is. Every decision affects multiple regions. Every failure sends shockwaves across the world. Every loss of influence feels existential. This is why superpowers do not decline quietly. History shows that every superpower passes through three clear phases. Phase 1, expansion. Power grows rapidly. Confidence is high. Risks feel manageable. Phase 2, dominance. The empire controls systems rather than territory. Stability becomes the priority. Phase 3, anxiety. Rivals rise. Costs increase. Control feels uncertain. The third phase is the most dangerous. This is where history turns. Fear changes behavior. A confident empire negotiates. An anxious empire reacts. During the dangerous phase, superpowers stop thinking long-term. They focus on maintaining control at any cost. They interpret resistance as threat, neutrality as betrayal, independence as rebellion. This is when intervention increases. This is when proxy wars multiply. This is when mistakes become irreversible. History shows that fear, not weakness, destroys empires. Rome did not fall when it was poor. It fell when it was overstretched and afraid. As rival powers emerged and internal stability weakened, Rome responded with constant military intervention. Borders were reinforced. Client states were controlled more tightly. Armies were sent everywhere. Rome believed that strengths required visibility. In reality, this exposed vulnerability. The cost of maintaining control exceeded the benefits. Loyalty turned into resentment. Protection turned into occupation. Rome's most aggressive period came shortly before its collapse. At its height, the British Empire ruled nearly a quarter of the world. But its most dangerous phase came later. As nationalist movements grew and economic pressures mounted, Britain intervened more frequently, not less. It attempted to manage unrest rather than adapt to change. Military actions, political manipulation, and economic pressure became tools of delay. History shows this clearly. The empire did not collapse suddenly. It exhausted itself trying to stay the same. Force is not the first option of declining powers. It is the last illusion of control. When diplomacy feels ineffective and influence fades, superpowers rely on pressure. Military presence increases. Alliances become demands. Economic tools become weapons. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. Pressure creates resistance. Resistance justifies more pressure. History shows that this loop never ends well. Every superpower believes it is different. Rome believed its institutions would last forever. Britain believed its system was too advanced to fail. Modern superpowers believe technology and scale will save them. History has never agreed. The illusion of permanence blinds empires to adaptation. They try to preserve systems that no longer fit reality. This refusal to change marks the beginning of the end. External aggression often hides internal weakness. History shows that superpowers enter their dangerous phase when internal unity breaks down. Political polarization increases. Economic inequality deepens. Trust in institutions erodes. Empires respond by focusing outward, blaming rivals instead of reforming themselves. This is a fatal mistake. Rome ignored internal decay. Britain delayed reform. Modern powers show similar symptoms. In the dangerous phase, alliances stop being partnerships and become burdens. Superpowers invest heavily in maintaining loyalty. They fear abandonment. They fear losing credibility. This leads to overcommitment. History shows that empires collapse not because they lack allies, but because they cannot sustain them. The dangerous phase compresses time. Decisions that once took decades now take years. Mistakes that once could be corrected now cascade. Empires lose their margin for error. History accelerates when fear takes control. Every superpower reaches a point where intervention increases, diplomacy hardens. Rivals feel closer, mistakes feel permanent. This is not coincidence. It is structure. It is the architecture of power under stress. Right before the fall, the world feels tense but familiar. Markets still function. Alliances still exist. Institutions still operate. But beneath the surface, trust is eroding. History shows this moment is deceptive. People believe stability will return. It never does. This is the moment when outcomes are decided, not during collapse, not during chaos, but during control with fear. History is unforgiving at this stage. Empires either adapt or they accelerate their decline. The most dangerous moment in a superpower's life is when it still believes it can stop history. In Part 2, we will explore how superpowers behave when decline becomes undeniable, why proxy wars explode during this phase, how new powers rise quietly while old ones panic, and what history suggests always comes next. Every superpower reaches a moment when denial becomes impossible. At first, warning signs are explained away. Economic stress is called temporary. Political division is blamed on opposition. Rivals are dismissed as weak or unstable. But eventually, the signs stop lining up with the narrative. Growth slows. Influence weakens. Allies hesitate. Competitors grow bolder. This is the moment when decline is no longer theoretical. It is felt. And this is when superpowers become most dangerous. Rising powers plan. Dominant powers manage. Declining powers react. History shows a clear behavioral shift. Long-term strategy is replaced by short-term damage control. Careful diplomacy gives way to rigid positions. Flexibility disappears. Superpowers begin responding to events instead of shaping them. This loss of initiative is fatal. Rome lost it when border crises multiplied faster than responses. Britain lost it when independence movements spread faster than reforms. Every empire loses it eventually. Direct war between great powers is too costly. But competition does not stop. Instead, conflict moves sideways. Proxy wars become the preferred weapon. They allow superpowers to hurt rivals without direct confrontation, test strength without total commitment, preserve the illusion of control. History is clear on this point. The Cold War was not peaceful. It was violent everywhere except where it mattered most. Declining powers rely on proxies because they feared direct failure. During the dangerous phase, small regions suddenly matter enormously. A single country becomes a symbol. A single conflict becomes a test of credibility. A single loss feels like collapse. This is how local crises become global flashpoints. Rome treated border skirmishes as existential threats. Britain treated colonial unrest as challenges to global authority. Superpowers stop distinguishing between strategic importance and symbolic importance. This is a sign of insecurity. When power feels uncertain, it must be displayed. History shows that declining empires feel compelled to demonstrate strength. Military exercises increase rhetoric, hardens red lines. Multiply these actions are meant to reassure allies and intimidate rivals. But they often do the opposite. They signal fear. Confident power is quiet. Anxious power is loud. National pride becomes weaponized during decline. Leaders appeal to history, identity, and greatness. Criticism is framed as betrayal. Compromise is portrayed as weakness. This creates domestic support temporarily, but it also traps leadership. Once pride becomes policy, retreat becomes impossible. Rome learned this when honor outweighed reason. Britain learned this when prestige delayed withdrawal. History shows pride accelerates collapse. Economic dominance is the foundation of modern superpower status. When this foundation cracks, everything else shakes. History shows a familiar pattern. Debt increases, growth slows. Inequality rises, public trust erodes. Superpowers respond by externalizing blame. Rivals are accused of manipulation. Allies are pressured harder. Systems are defended aggressively. But economic reality cannot be threatened into submission. This is why economic decline often precedes geopolitical failure. During the most dangerous phase, internal unity collapses. Political factions stop compromising. Institutions lose legitimacy. Information becomes weaponized. History shows that superpowers fracture internally before they fall externally. Rome split between elites and masses. Britain fractured over empire versus reform. Decline is never just external. Allies sense weakness before enemies do. History shows that when a superpower enters its dangerous phase, allies hedge their bets, commitments become conditional, loyalty becomes transactional. This is not betrayal, it is survival. As allies drift, the superpower responds with pressure instead of reassurance. This pushes them further away. Declining superpowers cannot afford to lose influence, yet they cannot afford to maintain it. This contradiction creates overcommitment. Resources are spread thin. Attention is divided. Mistakes multiply. Rome garrisoned too many borders. Britain tried to manage too many regions. Modern superpowers face the same dilemma. Overcommitment is not ambition, it is panic. History offers no examples of a superpower surviving this phase unchanged. Outcomes vary. Fragmentation, transition, replacement, but dominance always ends. The dangerous phase is not about collapse, it is about transfer. Power does not disappear, it moves. While old powers struggle loudly, new powers rise silently. They build alternatives, avoid overexposure, learn from old mistakes. History shows that rising powers do not challenge directly at first. They wait. Rome replaced older empires. America replaced Britain. Power shifts rarely announce themselves. Many empires believe one final action can restore dominance. One war, one intervention, one reform. History calls this the final illusion. It never works. Rome's last reforms came too late. Britain's last interventions accelerated withdrawal. There is no final move that stops history. At this point, events move faster than leadership. Decisions become reactive. Crises overlap. Control evaporates. The superpower still exists, but it no longer defines the system. This is the true end of dominance. After the dangerous phase, three things happen. The world becomes multipolar, rules become flexible, power becomes contested. This period feels chaotic, but it is natural. History is not ending. It is reorganizing. History teaches a simple lesson. Adaptation preserves relevance. Resistance accelerates decline. Every superpower understands this in theory. None accept it in practice. That is why the pattern repeats. The modern world shows every sign history has recorded before. Rising competition, frequent proxy conflicts, economic strain, political polarization. These are not isolated events. They are symptoms. Symptoms of the most dangerous moment. Superpowers do not fall because they lose wars. They fall because they lose flexibility. The moment fear replaces confidence, decline begins. History is not cruel. It is consistent. The most dangerous moment in a superpower's life is not when it collapses. It is when it still believes it can stop history. And history has never been stopped.